In 1853, a failed Chinese civil servant declared himself the younger brother of Jesus Christ, raised an army of 1 million soldiers, and seized a city of 3 million people, all while Europe had absolutely no idea any of it was happening. That man was Hong Xiuquan, and the war he started killed more human beings than the entire First World War. You were never taught this. Not because it was boring. Because what it reveals about Western history, about empire, about what we choose to remember, is deeply uncomfortable. This is the Taiping Rebellion. And it is the most consequential event of the 19th century that almost nobody in the Western world can name. Let us go back to the beginning. Hong Xiuquan was born in 1814 in Guangdong province in southern China. He was brilliant. He studied obsessively to pass the imperial civil service examinations, the pathway to power in Qing dynasty China. He failed, not once, 4 times. On his 4th failure in 1837, he had what his family described as a complete mental breakdown. He fell into a fever for weeks. He hallucinated. He saw visions of an old man with a golden beard and a younger man who called him brother. He dismissed the visions, until 6 years later, when a Christian missionary pamphlet passed through his hands. He read it and stopped cold. The old man in his vision, that was God the Father. The younger man, that was Jesus Christ. Which meant Hong Xiuquan was the younger brother of Jesus, chosen by heaven, destined to cleanse China of its demons. Now you might think, this is where the story ends. A deluded man with a pamphlet. But here is where it gets genuinely extraordinary. People believed him, thousands of them, then tens of thousands, then millions. By 1850, Hong had assembled a movement called the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, Taiping Tianguo in Mandarin. His followers were the poor, the dispossessed, the Hakka ethnic minority who faced constant discrimination. They were the people that Qing dynasty China had completely abandoned. And Hong gave them something the empire never did: purpose, identity, fury with a direction. In 1851, Hong formally declared a new kingdom in opposition to the Qing emperor. His army did not just fight. They swept. Within 2 years, they had captured Nanjing, one of the most important cities in all of China, renamed it the Heavenly Capital, and installed Hong as the Heavenly King. His territory held 30 million subjects. His army numbered over 1 million troops. If this surprised you, subscribe right now. Because we cover the history they actually buried, every single week. Now here is the detail that recontextualizes everything. The Taiping Heavenly Kingdom was not just a religious cult with weapons. It was a radical social experiment unlike anything happening anywhere on Earth at that moment. Hong abolished private property inside his territory. He banned opium, alcohol, gambling, and prostitution. He gave women equal legal rights, in 1852, decades before most Western nations even considered the idea. Female soldiers fought in Taiping armies. Female administrators ran Taiping cities. While the American Congress was debating whether to allow slavery into Kansas, Hong Xiuquan had already declared all people equal under heaven in a territory the size of France. This is why the story was buried. Because acknowledging the Taiping Rebellion means acknowledging that the most radical experiment in human equality during the 19th century happened in China, not in Europe, not in America, and it was crushed with Western help. Here is the part that should make you genuinely angry. By the early 1860s, the Qing dynasty was losing. They could not stop the Taiping armies on their own. So they turned to Western powers for assistance. Britain and France, who had just finished fighting the Qing in the Second Opium War, a war they started to force China to keep buying British opium, switched sides and began propping up the very dynasty they had humiliated. Why? Because a stable, weak Qing government was better for Western trade interests than a revolutionary kingdom that banned opium entirely. A British officer named Frederick Townsend Ward, and later the famous General Charles Gordon, nicknamed Chinese Gordon, led a mercenary force called the ever-victorious Army against the Taiping. Western-trained, Western-armed, fighting for the Qing. The rebellion was finally crushed in 1864. Hong Xiuquan died in Nanjing just before the city fell, probably by suicide, possibly by illness. His heavenly capital was destroyed. The reprisals were catastrophic. Entire cities were depopulated. The death toll from the rebellion, the famines it caused, and the massacres that followed is estimated at between 20 million and 30 million people. 20 million to 30 million human beings. The First World War killed approximately 17 million. The Taiping Rebellion killed almost twice that. And it has a single paragraph in most Western history textbooks. The legacy of this story reaches directly into the modern world. The humiliation of the Qing dynasty, weakened by the Taiping Rebellion, propped up by Western powers, unable to modernize, set the stage for the fall of Imperial China in 1911. That collapse led directly to the Chinese Civil War. That civil war produced the People's Republic of China in 1949. The Communist Party explicitly studied Hong Xiuquan. Mao Zedong called him a precursor, a flawed one, but a precursor, to the revolutionary movements of the 20th century. The world you live in today, the tensions between China and the West, the identity of the Chinese state, the deep suspicion of foreign interference in Chinese affairs. All of it has roots in this war that you were never taught. Hong Xiuquan failed. His kingdom was destroyed. But the questions he raised, about power, about who gets to be equal, about what happens when the forgotten decide they have nothing left to lose, those questions never died. They just moved underground, and they are still moving. If this is the kind of history that makes you see the present differently, subscribe and hit the bell. Next week we go somewhere else they never wanted you to look.